In this video, I'm going over the 3 steps on how to invest and buy shares on the Australian Stock Exchange, also known as the ASX, with a tutorial going through the buying and selling process at the end. So step 1, before even thinking about investing and buying shares in the stock market, you really need to look at your own personal financial situation and determine whether you have enough cash saved up, which you don't need in the short term, and also look into what high interest debt you owe and make sure that debt is paid down first. If you have high interest rate debt on a car loan or credit cards, that is over 10% for example, it is much better to get a guaranteed 10% return paying down that debt instead of investing in the stock market. Now, with mortgage interest rates on a house under 4%, it can be preferential to invest into the stock market instead of paying down the mortgage early if that's your preference, as typically throughout history the Australian stock market has returned 7 to 10% per year. I like to take a conservative approach with these returns and stick to the low side, with the Australian market typically having a dividend yield of around 3 to 4% per year and capital growth of around 3% per year. So that way I know I can consistently get better returns than the interest rate on my mortgage. Having cash available that you won't need in the short to medium term is also critical, because the share market in the short term can be very volatile, so the value of the money invested may go down temporarily, and you don't want to lock in those losses by selling if you need the money for an emergency. The money is best left invested in the stock market, with dividends reinvested, to truly get the compounding effect over a long period of time. Step number 2 is defining the type of investor you want to be. Before you go rushing into buying stocks left, right and centre, it's good to take a step back and decide what type of investor you want to be and how you invest in the stock market. Whether it's actively investing, where you pick individual stocks and try to beat the overall stock market returns, or a passive investor, where you buy market tracking ETFs or exchange traded funds, which provide the overall market returns minus the low cost management fee to own and operate the fund. Both are great and have their pros and cons, but ultimately it comes down to your personal risk appetite and temperament. Over the very long term, passive investing into broad market ETFs tends to outperform the majority of people who try to pick individual stocks. Picking individual stocks can be really beneficial to some people, however it does take a lot of research and deep understanding of each business, which can consume a lot of time and effort. ETFs are personally my favourite way to passively invest, as it takes the stress and worry out of stock market investing, which can often be very volatile with larger price swings holding individual stocks. For example, my superannuation or retirement account is made up of essentially 2 ETFs, which includes VAS to track the top 300 Australian companies, and VGS, which tracks 1,500 international stocks in developed countries excluding Australia. Consistently salary sacrificing into superannuation every week is one of the best ways to get instant returns through tax benefits in Australia and investing over the very long term until we retire. Outside of superannuation, I buy targeted ETFs, which hold companies that I believe will outperform the Australian market over time, such as the ETFs FANG and NDQ. There is also the sleep at night factor to consider, where let's say for example one Australian company in the top 300 index goes bankrupt and their share price goes to zero. The performance of VAS tracking this index won't be affected as badly compared to holding that individual stock, which loses all of its value. The bankrupt company will simply drop off the index tracking the top 300 companies and out of the ETF. The next best company will take its place in the top 300 index and the ETF. This takes the constant monitoring of individual stocks out of the equation, and for a lot of people this saves time and brings peace of mind. So that's really my strategy, but everyone is different and has different goals. So you really need to decide what type of investor you want to be and what is the most stress-free way to enjoy investing in the stock market. If you're enjoying this style of video, feel free to give it a like to let me know and subscribe for more. Step 3 is opening a brokerage account and buying the shares. So once we've paid down all of our high interest rate debt, have cash available that we won't need in the short term, and define what type of investor you are, we can start buying the shares. A brokerage account gives you access to the stock market and is what investors use to actually buy and sell their shares. You can transfer money into and out of the brokerage account like a bank account. Some of the most well-known and reputable brokers in Australia include all the big 4 banks, including Commonwealth Bank's CommSec, NAB Bank's nabtrade, ANZ Share Trading, and Westpac Share Trading. There is also Selfwealth, which has had a lot of good reviews and one of the lowest brokerage costs in the country. If you're just getting started, it will be easier to set up a brokerage account with the bank you're already with. This is what I did, and it also has the convenience of instant money transfers, so you can buy shares immediately if you wanted to. I have tried various brokerage accounts with other banks and Self-Wealth, and what I found is that it normally takes 1 to 2 days to transfer the money from your own bank account to the brokerage account. The brokerage fees aren't that different across each broker, so I'm not too concerned about them as I get the convenience of not having to worry about when my money will enter my brokerage account when it's transferred. If you are passively investing and have a set time schedule to buy shares, dollar cost averaging, then you could transfer the money into the lowest cost broker and wait the extra time, but I like the convenience of having all my savings, brokerage and mortgage accounts with one bank so I can easily check everything quickly. You can go online to any of the banks and type in open a stock brokerage account and it will take you through what needs to be done to set it up. This process is not instant, so you may want to allow a week or so for the approval process in preparation before buying shares. So once you have opened a brokerage account, you can find the shares of a company or ETF by searching for what's called the ticker code, which is normally a 3 to 4 letter code that represents a company or fund shares. For example, BHP conveniently has the ticker code BHP, and the Vanguard ETF that tracks the top 300 Australian companies has the ticker code VAS. You can typically Google search a company's share price and it will come up with their ticker code. Once you know the ticker code, you can enter it into the search bar of your brokerage account and press search. This will bring up the company's stock in the brokerage account. You can then either choose to buy or sell them by clicking on the buy and sell icons. You will be taken to what's called an order pad, where a buy or sell order is created by entering the quantity/number of shares you want. For example, if I want to buy 100 shares of BHP at $40 per share, I enter 100 in quantity units and 40 in the price. This is what's called a limit order, which sets the $40 as the price limit, so if the stock drops to this value, the order will be carried out. You can also set the order duration. Good till cancelled will keep the order open until you choose to cancel it. Good for day will cancel the order at the end of the current trading day. And good till date can be set by you depending on when you want to cancel that order. There is also what's called a market order type, which will buy the shares at whatever the current share price is. In this example, the BHP shares are at $42.43, so the 100 shares we want to buy will be at that price. You can also buy a set dollar value of shares. So for example, if I wanted to buy $1,000 worth of BHP shares at the market price of $42.43, it will buy 23 shares, which is just under the total $1,000 because one more share would go over that value. For selling shares, it's the same, where you can put in how many shares or the value you want to sell at either a limit or market order type. For both buying and selling, you will then click Review Order to make sure all the details you have entered are correct and confirm to place the order. One item to note for Australians is making sure you have your own individual holder identification number or HIN. A HIN is a unique number that is issued to you by the Australian Stock Exchange when you become a client of a stockbroker. You can find your HIN by speaking to your stockbroker or logging into your online trading account. The HIN number starts with the letter X and is then followed by 10 numbers. The reason why I think this is so important is that you as the investor actually own the shares you buy in your own name, whereas if the stockbroker you choose doesn't provide you with a HIN, then the brokerage company technically owns the shares in their name. So if the broker holding your shares goes bankrupt, then the situation in getting your shares and money from them may be difficult, as they could liquidate all their assets to pay back their debts. So this is why I choose brokers that provide me with a HIN. The big four banks and Self-Wealth offer this service and are the most reputable, so I feel safe using these brokers. Let me know in the comments if you are thinking about starting to invest and whether passive or active investing is more your style. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stock market investing and interesting business news. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.